Okay, I was hoping today to give you an opportunity to put to rest the concerns that people have that there were federal agents or assets of the federal government present on January 5th and January 6th. Can you tell us, without talking about particular incidents or particular videos, how many agents or assets of the federal government were present on January 6th, whether they agitated to go into the Capitol, and if any of them did?
So I'm not going to violate this norm of the rule of law. I'm not going to comment on an investigation that's ongoing.
Now, in that video, that was your answer to a question to me 2 years ago. When I said how many agents or assets of the government were present on January 5th and January 6th and agitating in the crowd to go into the Capitol, and how many went into the Capitol. Can you answer that now?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Oh, last time, you don't know how many there were, or there were none?
I don't know the answer to either of those questions. If there were any, I don't know how many. I don't know whether there are any.
I think you may have just perjured yourself that you don't know that there were any. You want to say that again, that you don't know that there were any?
I have no personal knowledge of this matter. I think what I said the last time.
You've had 2 years to find out. You know, were there any confidential human sources involved from the FBI or any other agency in the erection of that prop, those gallows?
I'm not aware of anything like that.
Inspector General Horowitz, over the past 3 years, I've questioned FBI Director Wray and Attorney General Merrick Garland about the federal assets, such as confidential human sources that were present on January 6th at the Capitol, and they have continuously stonewalled me. We've got no answers whatsoever about this from them. Do you have evidence of the number of confidential human sources that were operating on the Capitol grounds on January 6th?
Our report will include the information in that regard.
Can you tell us today how many there were? Were there more than 100?
I'm not in a position to say that, both because it's in draft form and we have not gone through the classification review. And so I need to be careful.
And we're 4 years, almost 4 years into this report. When is it going to be released?
It's certainly my hope and expectation, although I don't control this entirely because it has to go through a classification review, but certainly in the next couple of months is my hope.
Do you think, is there any consideration for the election about the release of this report? Would you delay it in order to not release it right before the election?
At this point, given the process that has to play out in terms of classification review and all of that, I'm not making any, I don't have to make any judgment about that. We're still, that still has to go on. Just to give you a sense of it, when I did the Pfizer review,
you're saying it's not even going to be done in time for before the election?
It doesn't, I doubt it would be done in time for the election.
We know, what we do know is you're going to expose that there were confidential human sources at the Capitol. Can you tell us today how many went into the Capitol?
I'll have that information in the report. I'm not able to speak to information in there, both because it's in draft and we get a response from the department and the FBI, okay, but also because I don't know yet what's classified and not classified.
So if they broke the law, if they went into the Capitol, which we pretty much know there were confidential human sources who went into the Capitol and right there alongside of everybody else, wouldn't they need to follow DOJ CHS protocols? And do you know if those were followed?
They should follow CHS protocols. And again, we'll include that information in the report.
Do you know how many were reimbursed for travel?
As I sit here, I don't recall the number.
But I don't recall, or you won't tell us?
Well, and if I did know it, I wouldn't be in a position to tell you because we still have to go through.
We're 4 years into this. You're supposed to be the organization that goes and gets these answers when the FBI and the DOJ stonewall Congress. But I feel like, you know, we're 4 years into this. We're not even going to get this information you're telling us now before the election.
Okay,
Hey, welcome into Courageous Media. Thanks so much for joining me. So we have got breaking bombshell news. We now know that the January 6th riots, whatever you want to call it, the insurrection was actually a Fedsurrection. That's correct, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into Courageous Media. Thanks so much for being here. We've got Resnap in the house. Bite Moto 1, Lynn Sanger in the house, Live Long Humble, Susan Quinn, thanks so much for being here. Just Chemicals, absolutely. So we have got massive news. Check this out. We're going to walk through this story, and then we're going to check out an interview with a gentleman by the name John Strand, who has been in the middle of this because he was caught up in this ridiculous dragnet. But here's the story. We now know that, as many of you recall, about 6 months ago, it was revealed that there were 26 confidential human sources. They were able to find that out. That was right around the time of the election, that there were 26 confidential human sources, not agents, confidential human sources that were in the crowd, but they never entered the building. Oh, no. They didn't enter the building, ladies and gentlemen. But now we know, because of Kash Patel and a report that he found and has now made public through several media sources, that there were 274 agents. Add that to our 24, 25, 26 confidential human sources. You've got 300 FBI assets, 274 of which look like agents that were not only in the crowd, but in the building. They were there. This was a setup. That's what this looks like. This was a Fedsurrection planned and programmed from the get-go. Something that I think we all knew. We all looked at the video. We all saw the busloads of Antifa people being brought in. We saw the fact that Pelosi and all of them refused National Guard support. We saw the pipe bombs at both the RNC and the DNC and how they suddenly disappeared when people actually entered the building. No one wanted to talk about them. We saw this whole thing as a setup, but now we are finding out way more. The Federal Bureau of Investigation deployed 274 agents to the Capitol on January 6th. Many of them later complained that the Bureau was driven by a political bias, according to an after-action report obtained by Just News. The 50-page document shows the FBI agents sent to the Capitol during the riot included inside the building without clear instructions. Well, I think many of them didn't have clear instructions, but I think a lot of them did. This report was located by Kash Patel's team and recently turned over to the House Judiciary Committee's special subcommittee investigating the incident. This is absolutely bonkers. Now that we've got James Comey indicted for the first of what should be a series of charges, because James Comey needs to also get charged with conspiracy, with RICO, with denial of, with the attempt to deny U.S. citizens their rights under the election, the thwarting of a U.S. president, you name it. This is absolutely crazy. Now, I want to introduce you to John Strand because we're going to check out an interview that he did with Benny just yesterday. But I want to give you a little bit of background as to who John Strand is and why this is relevant. But this is absolutely amazing stuff. Long live humble, walk right into the Capitol, no security. Exactly. Now, to this end, I want to play a video before we get into John Strand. Actually, let's play this one clip from John Strand first, then we'll look at this video. So here we go. This was John Strand on Real America's Voice with Grant Stinchfield. Check this out.
Wow, Grant, it is quite a revelation. And as you said, we've been tracking this for years now. I've been going through it personally for over 4 years. We've always known that January 6th was a government crime, a setup, an operation weaponized against the American people. And now we have the truth out of the criminals' own mouths, out of the institution that set this forth. So we knew that there were undercover operatives. We knew that there was pre-planning. We knew that we had learned this playbook from the Gretchen Whitmer Fednapping hoax, and it was replicated here by the same FBI field director, by the way, Stephen D'Antuono, who also needs to be investigated and likely indicted and charged as.
Absolutely. So now we know that Stephen D'Antuono was the same guy who orchestrated the entrapment case on the fake Whitmer kidnapping, the Fednapping of Whitmer. Now check out this video because this speaks directly to what we saw. Everybody saw this stuff. People saw these videos. There were multiple instances of videos like this. So check this out. where we have a J6 rioter, an insurrectionist in handcuffs being brought to the exit of the Capitol. He's uncuffed. Oh, there we go. And we fist bumped the FBI. Thanks so much. Hey, you did a great job. Good acting. Well done. We'll wire you the money. I don't know. Maybe they paid him in cash. Not sure. He's most likely a Fed agent. That's why they're fist bumping. That's why he's being let go. He was an agent. He wasn't a rioter. He wasn't an insurrectionist. Well, he was. He was the Fedsurrectionist. He was an agent, most likely in the Capitol, there to entrap anybody that they could. Now, check this out. So now I want to get into another clip from John Strand, and then we're going to check out this interview that he did with Benny, which I think is extremely enlightening. Now, here he is. He goes through a real brief synopsis of his story and how he ended up dragnetted into this whole nonsense. Here we go.
Right now, I'm about to go to prison for almost 3 years. I did nothing wrong, and the only reason that happened, not the only reason, but the main reason it happened so easily, is because I was denied the constitutional guarantee of a fair trial by a jury of my peers. Not only that, but my sentence was worsened by a judge who explicitly said from the bench, on the record, read the transcript, that he was furious at me for criticizing the government publicly. Specifically, he was furious at me for making the claim, which is my First Amendment protected right to do, but the evidence bears it out, that Washington, D.C. juries are entirely biased, flagrantly so. If I could tell the short story of my experience during my 8-day trial, the most interesting part was day one, which was jury selection. And this was not a random assortment of citizens fulfilling their civic duty to participate in a jury trial. These were people that were hanging on every moment, hoping to get chosen so that they could experience the personal gratification of crucifying someone that they politically despise. They openly admit this.
Very important, that venue.
Wow. Now we knew that. We knew the whole thing was a scam once it got to the trial phase. I would not be surprised if we find out, if Kash Patel keeps digging, if Pam Bondi especially keeps digging, we find out that these weren't random jury assignments. Normally for jury duty, you get randomly picked from voter rolls and they walk through. I would not be surprised if they had not already assembled a pool of January 6th jurors that they pre-selected from, that they handed out, jury duty notices to, that already knew what the score of the game was, that already knew what the game plan was. So John Strand was caught up in this nonsense. Now I want to play this interview with Benny Johnson, which this was absolutely amazing when I saw this. Before we get into that, I just want to give a shout out to a few people who have showed up. Really appreciate Lynn Sanger. Thanks so much for being here. How are all the J6 committers still alive is beyond me. Now, if only the evil MSM would report on this exactly. Well, guess what? The mainstream media, the propaganda media is never going to report on this. So it's up to us. It's up to us to get the story out there. It's up to us to let the American people know what's really been going on behind the scenes of government during the Biden regime, during this fraudulent, fake regime that has, occupied, that usurped the White House for 4 years. They need to know, and all of these people need to be held accountable. The indictments cannot stop with Comey. They need to roll to every other member of the FBI that was involved in this, D'Antonio, as well as people who were involved in the Russiagate, Strzok, Page, McCabe, Wray, all of them. And every member of the J6 committee that was involved in this needs to be indicted. Now, to do that, they're going to have to get the Supreme Court to essentially nullify the blanket pardons that they were all given by the auto pen before Biden exited office. But check this out, John Strand with Benny Johnson. This was absolutely amazing.
All right. Hey, thank you, John. Welcome to the program. It's awesome to finally have you on, man.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be with you again.
Okay, so let's let's talk about this news this morning. How
Yeah.
does this make you feel? Can you give people a little bit of your background with January 6th?
Yeah.
And then fast forward to the news today.
I could say, I told you so, but instead I'll just say what I've been saying for 4 years, Benny. January 6th was our American Reichstag fire, and that has been confirmed today. So my quick story.
Now, if anybody doesn't know what the Reichstag fire is, go back to your ancient German history, ancient pre-World War II German history, when basically Hitler used a fire in the Reichstag, which later was found out to be essentially a false flag. It was a setup operation. They staged the fire in order to prompt the Night of the Long Knives, where he eliminated via assassination all of his political enemies. Now, the Democrats didn't eliminate via assassination all their political enemies, but they attempted via the J6, via their version of the Reichstag fire, to put 1,600 people in prison, to destroy their lives, to do it publicly in order to essentially eliminate the MAGA movement, eliminate conservative Republicans from the public square. They attempted to de facto ban them from ever holding office, speaking in public. They wanted to take the MAGA view and make it so tainted that it would never rise again. The problem is they overstepped their bounds. And now this is all coming back to bite him, because now we're finding out this whole thing was a false flag entrapment operation from the get-go. So for those of you who didn't understand, the Reichstag fire.
Story. I'm originally an actor from Hollywood, was working in Los Angeles during COVID. The life turned upside down, of course, and I fought back against tyranny at that time. And I got to start working with a nonprofit called America's Frontline Doctors, which helped reveal the truth about the COVID lies. We were scheduled, along with multiple Congress people, at an event that had a government-approved permit to give speeches on January 6th, which is why I was there that day. And then, of course, thanks to approximately 275 and counting undercover operatives, we were entrapped, swept into the building, and the rest of our lives have been turned upside down, dismantled, firebombed, and destroyed for all practical intents and purposes. Personally, I was sent to prison. DOJ tried to put me in prison for almost a decade. I'm not kidding you. And my particular story was unique because I refused to take a plea deal. Most J6ers weren't able to overcome that hurdle because of all the corruption at the DOJ and the reality of facing multiple 20-year felonies and et cetera. So the government pile-drived over 1,000 American citizens into cooperating with one of the most deep, dark, complex, dirty lies in American history, and strung them up as forced confessions to back up this lie. So the FBI undercover operation that has been exposed today is just the tip of a very dirty, weaponized government spear. And there is much more blood dripping down from that operation and machination. So the legal aspect of what happened, as well as the operational aspect of what happened, is going to blow people's minds. This is just the beginning. And this is our J6 turning point. This is it.
Which is why I believe, this is my personal belief, I don't have any evidence to back this up other than my eyeballs and objective viewpoints. And because even in a city that's 90% Democrat, I don't think you could get that many rabid jurors. You could get rabid judges. I don't think you could get that many rabid jurors unless you pre-selected the jury pool. Unless you knew that there was a pool of 100 people or 200 people that you could select your jurors from, and you sent them the jury notices. You rigged that system so that only that pre-select group got the jury notices, the jury duty notices. They showed up, hence his previous video that they were frothing at the mouth to sit on that jury and condemn fellow citizens when this was clearly nonsense, when none of these people did anything violent. Of any violence that happened on that day, of the 1,600 people, it was maybe 4. And that violence was fisticuffs and nonsense. But these people who peacefully walked through the building and they were handing out 20-year sentences, that had to be a rigged judge-jury system.
Yes. So it really does confound the senses as to how they could keep this secret for so long. It seems like they have just trampled on your rights. And some of the videos, pop up this one. I want to see the guy. Yeah, the dude in the black mask with the earpiece.
It's unbelievable.
Ripping the window open so that they could. So the guy in clear Fed tactical gear that is opening up the Capitol windows.
And then reaching over and grabbing an innocent bystander to frame it on him. You see it in real time.
It's incredible. And then he blames that guy for opening the window.
Exactly. And that's
Amazing.
so representative of the entire J6 lie.
Exactly. That is representative. It's representative of the video we showed you earlier of the J6 quote unquote insurrectionists being brought in handcuffs to the exit to the Capitol, being unhandcuffed, and then fist bumping his FBI agent buddy. This was a setup. This was entrapment from the beginning. And this lie needs to be dismantled brick by brick. And every single person who was involved needs to be indicted and they need to be tried. They need to go to prison for at least the amount of time that they were trying to put away all of the J6 political prisoners. They need to go to the same gulag that they were trying to send all of the J6 political prisoners. And that means every member of the J6 committee. That means all of the propaganda people, i.e. Nancy Pelosi's, I believe, daughter that they brought in order to create propaganda films for this. That means if the jurors were pre-selected, if they had prior knowledge of this, every juror, every judge, all the prosecutors, this needs to be dismantled all the way down, stone by stone, brick by brick, until there is nothing left. Let me know what you think. Hey, Talisha Clark, welcome into the chat. Thanks so much for being here. Let me know what you think in the comments. Really appreciate everybody rolling up today. We'll be doing another video later on today, I believe. We'll also be doing a video on the Chris Highland podcast as we for our faith-based channel. But really appreciate everybody rolling up. Please smash that like button. Hit the turn on the subscribe and turn on the notifications if you haven't already. And if you like this content, please share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. Really appreciate y'all rolling up. You guys are awesome. Remember, God is good and He is sovereign. Until I catch you next time.